welcome to my channel. I figured today we would talk about my experience with working at European Wax Center. I'm sorry if it's a little bit echoey in here. I had to move in here into my lobby because, of course, whenever I sit down to film, I'm right by an auto body shop and they're trying to do all kinds of work right now and it's really loud. So if you hear anything in the background, I'm sorry, it's just the auto body place right behind me. So I was at European Wax Center for about 2 years. I actually worked at the front desk first while I was in aesthetics school. And whenever I worked at the front desk, I believe I made like $9 an hour, and then I would get commission if I sold packages. Which that's kind of hard to do because it's a lot of money up front, and yes, you can split it into payments, but not a lot of people want to do that, and I'm not a great salesperson, so I kind of struggled with that, struggled with selling packages, so I never really made that much. Plus I only worked, I think, like 15, 20 hours a week, so I didn't really work that much. And then whenever I was done with school, they offered me a position to wax, and so I decided to do that. As a waxer, I started at $8 an hour. I guess I should also preface this all by saying this was my personal experience. Every center is different. Every center is owned by somebody different. My franchisee, I'm gonna say this right now, kind of sucked. I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna tell you where I worked, but yeah, everyone has a different experience, so don't let this deter you from working there or anything like that, but my experience was not the best. So yes, I started at $8 an hour. We received 5% commission on services and 10% commission on products. We were required to sell 16 products a month minimum. And if you, for whatever reason, did not sell at least 16 products for more than 2 consecutive months in a row, you would be fired. They also implemented us upping our SPT, which is sales per ticket. So say somebody was coming in for just a Brazilian wax, we were kind of expected to talk them into adding on another service like a brow or a lip, etc. And if we couldn't add on another service, we were expected to add on a product. Which, I mean, yes, it does make you more money, but at the same time, it makes you very pushy, and I'm not a pushy person. There are 4 levels. They're color coded. So there's white level when you very first start. That is right after your training. And white level, you get the longest amount of time per service booked out so that you can complete your wax. I don't really know how they move you up levels. I'm not really sure what the criteria is. I moved from white to blue to orange fairly quickly within, I don't know, maybe 2 months. And then after I was orange for only about a month, I asked if I could be bumped up to red. Every time we would be bumped up from the previous color, we would get another $1 per hour. So at white and blue, I was $8 an hour. At orange, I was $9 an hour. And then when I was red level, I was $10 an hour. Your commission never increases, but they do have bonuses that you can get. So if you, for our center, I believe this is different from every center too. I think it's up to the franchisee's discretion what you can get for bonuses. So our bonus structure was every 2 weeks if you exceeded, I forget the exact dollar amounts, but if you exceeded a certain dollar amount in services, then you would get an extra $50, $100, and then I believe you can max out at $400. But the only people that would get that $400 bonus were the people that were insanely booked out and worked doubles or extra. If you only worked your standard 5 days, you probably were not going to be able to hit that. And I think that my franchisee made it impossible for some of us to reach that goal because he just didn't want to pay us. He was more concerned about making our store a $1 million store and was less concerned about making sure his employees were happy. Another thing I wanted to talk about was we had blackout dates, which meant from a certain time to a certain time around holidays, didn't matter what holiday it was, we were not allowed to take off. We were not allowed to request off any days. And it was always a ridiculous time frame. It would be like December 15th through January 5th, we were not allowed to take any time off. Even if we found coverage for ourselves, we still were not allowed to take that time off because it was holiday season and it didn't matter. They didn't care. You weren't allowed to call off. And if you did call off, you'd be fired. So that kind of sucked. So around even 4th of July, Easter, all of that, you were not permitted to take off, even if you found coverage for yourself, which brings me into my next point, that we had to find our own coverage. If we wanted a day off, it was our responsibility to ask our coworkers if somebody could take one of our shifts. And a lot of the time that meant obviously you'd have to take one of their shifts. So also the girls that I worked with were kind of catty. So it was a little tricky to find coverage because no one wanted to cover for each other because everyone kind of didn't like each other. So it was very hard trying to find people to cover when you wanted time off. And you would be disciplined if you just called off and didn't find coverage. Oh, that's the other thing. If we were sick, we were required to find coverage. So say I wake up and I have the flu, I'm supposed to find someone to come in while I'm sick. Manager did not take care of that. It was up to me. And if I didn't find someone, then I would get in trouble. When I was trained, the girl who trained me, she didn't really care. She was very close to going on maternity leave, and she is kind of an evil bitch. And she just didn't care about training me at all. I kind of felt like I was thrown to the wolves. I was taught about our products. I was taught about services and what the codes were that you have to write down on the receipts when you take your client up to the front. But when it came to actual training, I had slim to none. I really did not get a lot of experience with waxing. So I think whenever I had my wax models, which it was up to me to bring in wax models, they didn't help with that. If I couldn't find people to do Brazilians, then I didn't get practice. And they just expect you to do it. So I am sure that I completely scarred some people in the beginning of my waxing career because I had no idea what the hell I was doing because no one showed me properly. I kind of had to look at my training book that showed you the wax patterns, and I had to kind of teach myself, figure it out, and eventually I did, and I felt like I really got good at what I was doing fairly quickly. I feel like with waxing, either you have it or you don't. It's not really something that you can just pick up. I think you definitely are either good at it or you're not. I will say the pros to working at European Wax Center is you get that speed down because as a red level waxer, you're expected to do a bunch of services in a very short amount of time. At my center, we had to do, so say somebody wanted underarms, lip, chin, eyebrows, and Brazilian. We had to do all 5 of those services in 15 minutes. They would double book everything so that we had all of that done in 15 minutes. So that really ups your speed. You have to be very fast, otherwise your whole day is gonna just end up behind. I believe they do that just because they want to make as much money off of you as humanly possible. So it's kind of like a sweatshop for waxing. But I will say that's where I got my speed, that's where I got my technique, although I have kind of developed my own technique, but it is pretty much based on what I learned there. It really helped me to talk to people. I myself am a very big introvert. I'm not great at talking to people. I don't like talking to people. I shouldn't say that I don't like it, but I'm not good at it. I get very anxious and I'm shy. I'm not great at speaking to new people. And since I had to do that over and over and over and over again, every shift, I got pretty good at small talk. I got good at, just being a people person. And it also helped me to add on services. So like I said earlier, they expected us to add on services, and I didn't want to get written up. So I did what I could to add on services if I was able to. So say someone was getting their eyebrows, I would just kind of say what they told us to do. Hand the person the mirror and say, so all we're doing today is eyebrows. Is there anything else you see that you'd like me to take care of today? And then that's how you add it on. I wasn't that great at it, but it definitely helped me a lot. I'm not really pushy like that in my own business, but at the time you did what you had to do in order to make that money. But now that I went over everything about working there, I will go into my actual experience of working at this particular center. So starting out there, like I said, the wax trainer, she's evil, I swear to God. She has a vendetta against every single person. She's very two-faced. Anybody that she meets, she immediately turns around and starts talking crap on them as soon as they walk away. And she was best friends with the center manager. So you can kind of see how that is an issue. If she did not like someone, she would find a way to get them fired. It was kind of crazy. She always tried to get me fired. She tried multiple times and was never able to get me fired. Because I went to work, I did my job, and I went home. I didn't involve myself in any type of drama with all the other girls, and so they had no reason to fire me. They couldn't, but she tried her damnedest to get me fired because she didn't like me for, I have no idea what reason. And the other girls were nice, but I just feel like usually when you work with a bunch of people that are in the beauty industry, there's just that cattiness there. I don't know why. I'm not really like that. At least I don't think that I am. And to be around people like that all the time is kind of mentally draining, because you're always involved in drama. There's always some type of drama, and that would absolutely drive me crazy because I'm just not into that. That's not what I'm there to do. I'm there to do my job, make my money, and go home. So that was always an issue. And then as for my franchisee, he lived in New Jersey. I'm in Pennsylvania. He was gifted 2 European wax centers and 2 massage envies by his dad, so he pretty much never had to work. And we never saw him. Like I said, I was there for 2 years. He met me probably 5 different times, and every single time had introduced himself to me like he never met me before. So that sucked. He just did not care. And then he would ask us questions like, why aren't you telling people to come in more often? You could make more money. I'm not going to tell someone to get waxed sooner than they need to, because that's not great for their skin and they just don't need to. I'm not going to do that to somebody. That's not right, in my opinion. So, and he'd just come in and just stir up stuff. It was just always trouble when he came. No one really liked when he came. He was kind of a jerk and just didn't want to pay us. He just wanted us to be this $1 million making store, and that was what he cared about. The turnover rate there was absolutely crazy. I feel in the 2 years I was there, we went through at least like 15 waxers, like people, well, and front desk people, like more than that. It would just, no one wanted to work there because it was just such a terrible environment. And it was just, I don't know, just, and guests could sense that too. If I would talk to someone about it, they'd be like, yeah, like I prefer to go to you. I don't want to go to anyone else because they're kind of like rude or like standoffish and judgy. Like people just felt judged when they'd walk in. And that's not what you want whenever you're doing a service to make someone feel good about themselves. You don't want them to walk in and immediately feel judged by people. Like that's not cool. So I just really didn't enjoy my time there, and I didn't know how to like get out of there because I never thought that I would own my own business. That's not why I went to aesthetic school. I went to aesthetic school to become a makeup artist, which I did, but I worked at European as, you know, a steady income, and I did make a good amount of money there. My paychecks every 2 weeks were probably anywhere from $1,100 to $1,600, not including cash tips. If you want to add cash tips into that, probably another like, I don't know, that would make my total for every 2 weeks probably around like $2,200 or like $2,000. So it wasn't a bad job. I made great money there. I met a lot of really awesome people. So I definitely think that it's a stepping stone. It is not meant to be someone's career. That's just my opinion though. You might work somewhere that's fantastic. All of the people that work there are fantastic. Your pay is great. You might love it. You might absolutely love it. But me, it was not for me. I did not have a great time there. I'm glad to be out of there, and yeah, that's pretty much my experience. Oh, also, I have alopecia. So I lost all of the hair on my head and the rest of my body about 8 months before my wedding in 2019. So I lost my hair, like I just said, and obviously going to work, I wanted to have something on my head because I didn't want to go to work and just be bald. Like I was embarrassed. I was ashamed that that happened to me, even though it was not my fault. I was just a wreck, and they wouldn't let me wear anything. So we had a website where we would order our own uniforms. We had to wear scrubs, and we had to buy our own. They provided you with one pair when you started, and if you wanted more, you had to buy them yourself. So there was a website where you could buy jackets, you could buy merch. And so I saw that they had baseball hats. So I had asked my manager, hey, I see that they have European Wax Center baseball caps. Can I buy one of these to wear at work? And she told me no. I was not allowed to wear any type of covering on my head. So they forced me to be bald at work every day. And my manager thought it was funny that people would make jokes about me having cancer. I would have so many people every day ask me how many chemo treatments I have left, or like, you know, how is my cancer doing? Just ridiculous, invasive questions, just ignorant questions every day. And part of that had to do with me not being able to cover that up. I was forced to be bald at my job, and I was mortified every single day. And on top of that, my manager called me naked mole rat. To my face, she called me naked mole rat. She called me that to other people. And that was kind of my like final straw when I left, because I just couldn't believe that somebody could be so insensitive. That blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. So why would I want to work for somebody who said things like that to me, made me feel like that, made me feel so horrible whenever I was just going to work and doing my job. Yeah, that was my terrible experience at European Wax Center. But like I said, that's just my franchise. So if you want to work there, definitely do it. Learn that technique, get your speed up, and learn to talk to people, learn to sell product, learn to add on services, and then get out of there. Go open your own business, go work for someone else at a small business that isn't gonna treat you like hot garbage. That's all I have to say about that. But I'm sorry the end of this was a little like dark, but that was my experience. So I will catch you in the next one.